The thing that I was saying is I don't know how to start this because I don't know what we're doing.
I don't either. I don't even think we have a name.
The confusion of where this goes and what the purpose is other than we want to do it.
Yeah.
Right now, that's the only thing that's like first and foremost. I just know that we're going to do this anyway. Right? I mean,
yeah,
and
we're
so
just gonna do it anyway. That's what the podcast is gonna be called.
we're going to do this anyway.
Yeah.
So why
we were
not?
gonna do it anyways.
And we were. And we do. And in fact, to bring that like kind of full circle back around to what I was trying to get to a minute ago is like, we did this for a long time, and then it became, you know, that feeling that like you can get after, I don't want to say full soul drain, but I kind of got there. The feeling that you get when you've done something for so long, and then you kind of feel like you've exhausted that. I think it's like writing an album, right? Like, you know when it's done, you know when you're finished with it. And for a lot of artists, it's the thing of like getting that done and putting it out, and then that's out and it's past. You know, like the thing that Scott Walker used to say about when he would put his records out, he would never listen to it again. Once it was out for the people, it was no longer his.
See, I can't get that way that he says that though, because I don't understand that mentality.
Man, I understand that hard.
Really?
Yeah. For me, the way that I felt about putting behind what we were doing before is the same as when I finish an album. I don't go full Scott Walker. I can listen to my music after it's recorded and put out. But I always kind of feel weird about it when I revisit even like a last album that I just did. I can revisit it, and because I finished it and feel like it was a part of like me that I let go and put into something.
Wait, when you say that, are you talking about Ritual, or are you saying about the Inevitable Death?
Ritual, just because it's out.
Okay.
And people have now lived with it and taken their own ideas from what I was doing.
Yeah.
And that's been cool to see. So that was easy for me in that regard to let that go and say, okay, there's fireworks.
I know.
It's a beautiful night. It's a beautiful night. And so that's the thing for me is like when I see other people taking something that I created and enjoying it and putting their own like feelings, ideas, emotions, soundtracking parts of their lives to this, that's no longer mine. I can put it behind me. So I was looking at what we used to do with our podcast today, and I was thinking about it, and I mean, we've both thought about it for a long time.
Gibbert's about to die over
your dog. So yeah, I mean, we'll address the dog in the room. There's a dog next to me. We're doing this. This is something that's different. So this is
my
full circle explanation. This is different from what we used to do.
Oh yeah.
We killed what we were doing because, for me, like I said before all of this rant, because that's just how this works, I felt like my soul wasn't in it any longer. And like
I know.
when you've let your soul like release from a project, it comes from multiple reasons and directions. And one of the reasons why I felt that was because, again, we started feeling like a facsimile of a facsimile of a facsimile, and who wants to do that, right? Like, who wants to
also like
be the same?
The part of doing the podcast for the
your dog's gonna die. Like,
I don't know, Gibbard, buddy, are you okay?
Bud, I'm feeling for you at the moment.
I hope he doesn't have COVID.
Yeah, me. Oh God, no.
Is that possible?
It is possible for pets.
For dogs?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Well, cats got it in New York.
Yeah,
how fucked is that?
Cats are.
Nope. Don't say an ill word about
except
cats.
for your cat.
Well,
all other cats.
All other cats are bastards. But my cat.
What were we just talking about?
So we were just talking about, just like letting something go. And like for me, an album is easy because once I see other people gravitate to it and enjoy it or hate it, whatever that is, I've then understood, okay, I did this thing. I put this thing out. It's now like a collective consciousness piece of art for me.
Right.
it is a piece of art that I created and enjoyed doing, but now it's out in the world, so like people are going to associate it with where they were when they first heard it, just like we do with any record we've ever heard in our lives.
Right.
Any movie that you've watched that was influential on you, or like when you saw as a kid, like the first time you saw Terminator 2.
Yeah.
You remember the first time you saw Terminator 2?
Oh, of course.
Because it was one of those movies where like we were at that age where it was like,
it's a stamp in time. That movie is somehow is like
for me it is
a mile marker.
Yeah. I remember it was one of those things. I was I was young. I was little, but I remember like hanging out at a friend's house and he was allowed to watch that kind of stuff at that time, and I wasn't, unless like with a parent or guardian, like the proper style of what rated R means, restricted. I mean, for minors, but PG-13, maybe it was, maybe Terminator 2 was PG-13 back then. I don't know. The world has changed to a degree now that like Terminator could have totally been PG.
Oh, absolutely.
And what we see now that's PG-13 is like so much worse than that.
Do you feel like that is because standards are changing or the world is just getting worse?
Both of those things are true. The world is, without a doubt, absolutely getting worse.
Yeah.
Every day. And this brings me to something I was thinking about on the car ride over here is we used to talk about how things were getting bad, and, we were always worried, like, man, every month it's something different.
Yeah.
This was like 2016, 2017 us, right? Now it's like, no, every day something is popping off that is just like different and alarming in our world, because how do you find peace in a world that doesn't stop?
You can't do it.
Right? I mean, we try, we fight it, and that's
I mean, that is like a constant like thing that I shoot for.
Yeah.
Is finding peace even with chaos around me. And meditation's helping, and reading books are helping, but like
meditation helps a lot. But for me, the way that meditation helps is momentary. It helps me at the time. Like if I'm
that's the
having a
for
stressful
me.
day.
Well, no, it still helps me at the time, but it's opposite for me. Whereas like I find
longer lasting.
If I keep a regular like set of it, it helps me to get more present throughout the day.
Right.
Like have an easier time, not in like normal life.
Normal life, yeah.
So like if I dedicate a certain amount of time to what, either meditating or reading books about stuff that I read about lately.
Whether I'm meditating or reading books about meditating, my brain is somewhere.
Meditating, reading books about meditating while listening to a podcast about meditating.
I mean, it's a little bit of, I think it's kind of, you have to read about meditating to fully learn how to meditate. I don't believe that someone can teach you how. I think that you have to figure it out on your own. I know that there's guided meditations, but in my opinion, anytime I've ever tried to look to someone else to either explain to me how to do it or to walk me through how to do it, I'm lost on it. It doesn't work for me that way. For me, I have to find it on my own every time.
I agree to an extent, but I have heard some things that have instantly clicked, and I don't know if it's just hearing it from the right person that I feel like I have like some kind of connection with, like not personal connection, but like I feel like we're on the same wavelength.
It has to be someone I really know, and they also have to be certified in the art of...
No, but every once in a while someone will say something that will be like, oh, shit. That's what I need to start doing.
Yeah.
And it will absolutely get me there. Like when I was watching Midnight Gospel.
Oh, God.
The very last episode he has when he's interviewing his mom.
Uh-huh.
And she gets into this part about talking about how she gets present and gets in the moment.
Yep.
And so she's explaining it to Duncan.
Duncan Trussell, if you're not aware of Midnight Gospel.
It's really
fantastic television show. It's on Netflix. Man, Duncan's podcast is great. Yeah. And what he has done with Midnight Gospel,
it's revolutionary.
Beautiful,
like
beautiful.
I've never seen something. Anyways, on that episode, she starts talking about how to get present. She's like, "Okay, well, have you ever like tried to feel the inside of your hands?"
Huh. Yeah.
And like when I thought about that,
I felt the inside of my hands.
that's what my brain did.
Yeah.
And it started feeling that. And she starts talking about, like, what does it feel like? And it feels like some kind of, like, warm energy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you start feeling that, and if you can make that energy feel like it goes up your arms, and then try to make it feel up like it's in your legs.
Yeah.
Once you do that,
you could feel it.
That is presence. Like, you are being present because you are aware of yourself in that moment. And that, for some reason, clicked, and I had never done better at meditating. I know that's not a thing, but
you know what's really weird? This just clicked, like, for me, because I know that you and I have talked about this before, but what you just explained is a phenomenon, if you will, that I know that you and I have discussed before. And I think that it was the earliest form. This is so weird that this realization just hit me. This is the earliest form of meditation, or the act of being able to put myself into a state in which I am aware fully that I can totally get to meditation if I try hard enough.
Yeah.
Is when you're laying in bed at a young age, and I've done this still even at my age now, and it never ceases to amaze me that no matter how many times I do this and it scares the shit out of me, it is something that I can always somehow psych myself into doing. And this is when you're laying in bed, dead of night, can't go to sleep. And then those are the times that your mind starts thinking, like, all of the thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
And so one reoccurring thought, and one reason why we're doing this podcast, just like we have conversations, is one of the biggest topics that we are, like, forever interested in is death.
Yeah.
Because who's not interested in death? It's crazy.
It's
to think that
terrifying and astonishing.
Yes. To think that
things.
And this kind of goes with meditation and, any sort of spiritual look that you take on any of these, points of view, but, like, to think that one day the lights go out, click, done. So I used to lay in bed when I was, like, I don't know, 13, 14, and I used to think, like, man, what does it feel like to not be anymore?
Yeah.
And so I would sit and I would close my eyes and try to not even sleep, but try to focus on the feeling of not existing, feeling of, like, what is it going to feel like when everything goes dark? And I most likely what I was feeling was the consciousness slipping into almost that meditative state or sleep.
That is meditation, though.
It is, I think.
Like,
but then I would always jar myself awake of, like, whoop, too close, too close,
because
too close.
You're scared of it.
I know.
Man.
Oh, absolutely.
What's weird, though, is when I was little, I was terrified of it. Like, I would be scared.
Yeah.
And now, if I do it, I still get scared. But it's almost like that feeling is such a sharp energy that
it reminds you you're alive now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I did it as recently as, like, a few months ago. I remember doing the same thing. I was laying in bed, and I had just done the sort of mantra that I put myself to sleep to every night, because usually that puts me into, like, a nice, like, headspace.
Is it still spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down?
No.
Oh. I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to tell your mantra.
In every way, I am getting better.
Yeah, I love that one.
You repeat that 20 times when you go to sleep. Every day, in every way, I am getting better and better. And by the time you've repeated that to yourself 20 times, you put yourself kind of in a, just usually for me, I can do it, and by the 20th time, my brain is ready to go to sleep.
Yeah.
I've focused on one thought, pulled myself down a little bit.
Yeah.
But one night I had done that, and I was just wide awake, but I knew I had to get to sleep. It was 3 a.m. or something. Everything I had tried. So I went back to tactics from earlier and thought, oh man, what does it feel like to be dead? And I did that feeling thing again, where I just sat and focused on not feeling anything.
Yeah.
And I jarred myself more awake than I was before I had even, and it reminded me, okay.
Yeah.
Again, too close. That's a weird feeling.
I think that's
because I just slipped probably almost under the undertow of sleep.
Yeah.
But then I just yanked myself back out of the
like
water.
Sleep mixed with ego death.
It is, man. It is ego death, I think.
It's sort of like a psychedelic trip,
yes,
I think.
It absolutely is, because you put yourself in a place where you're fighting
I think also
only yourself.
I've never had psychedelics yet. But
that's going to be a part of this whole podcast experiment too.
Oh gosh.
It's just a part of it. It's where we're going.
We'll see about it.
It's the journey you've committed to. God damn it, let's see it through.
But what I assume of it is that taking them allows you to get over that fear or that thing that shocks you back from thinking about, like, when you get so scared. Like, I don't know if anybody else did. We may be like the two weirdest people in the world.
Absolutely. You could be listening to this right now like, whoa, what?
But when I was little, like, if I was in my room, sometimes I would just get scared because I would think about, like, I'm going to freaking die one day.
Yeah, one day.
And if I said that in my head, then it was terror.
See, this is a thing that I battle with all the time because I am, it's weird to explain it. I'm not terrified of death itself because I know that the act is peaceful and that when you're dead, you don't, that's done, you know, like you cease to exist. I think for me, whenever I think of death, I always get more fixated on the how. Like, is it gonna be painful?
Yeah.
How am I gonna go? Like, because again, it's not the destination, it's the journey. Even in that aspect, it's not about, like, when you're dead, you don't know it anymore because you are dead. That is the end of consciousness as you know it, as we know it. Maybe.
Yeah.
That's kind of the whole thing. That's the end of a chapter, right? But, like,
maybe, I mean, no, probably. I don't know. Who knows?
No, probably. I mean, yeah, it's like I think for me, it's the thought of an agonizing, like,
that
way of death. You know what I mean? Like, when you think of things like that, that's what puts the human spirit and the human mind into a next level of consciousness, I think, when you start analyzing how the way you think can actually affect a lot of the way that your body reacts to anything.
Yeah.
Like, our brains are much stronger than we a lot of times allow ourselves to believe that they are. You know, like, people can convince themselves
they totally
of being sick, of, you know, something like the cold, you know? You can get it fixated in your head like, oh, man, my allergies are killing me. Oh, what if it's a real bad cold?
Right.
And, oh, I just feel bad.
Yeah.
And then you just feel bad because you've convinced yourself you feel bad. Just like when your friends call you and they want to go out and you don't want to go out, you sometimes do convince yourself.
Exactly. Or when you want to call into work.
I want to go out. I do. I want to see my friends. I want to do this. So you force yourself to do something.
Right.
Now, there's obviously two sides to that coin. Sometimes you get out and then you're like, oh, man, I should have really just, like, stayed on the couch and stayed in my zone that I was in prior to doing anything else. But then there's other times that you do get out and you say, you know what? I'm glad I came out tonight. I lived a little bit. I did something out of the ordinary for me. It wasn't a routine, normal evening where I sat and watched television or made music. I did something different. Sometimes it is very satisfying, and you know, that's a whole different, like, topic altogether. But, like, it's kind of the same thing, though. Like, it's all the convincing that you do to yourself that conditions you for whatever may or may not be at hand.
Right.
Death is just one of those thoughts of, like, man, I don't like to think about the how.
Right.
At all. I know that I don't need to think about the why, because I know that it will happen, and it does happen.
Yeah.
Everyone is born, everyone dies. I'm totally to terms with that.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's the part of the in-between. Just like the living. Just like we're doing now. Like, sometimes you just wonder, like everyone does, I think, what is the actual point to everything right now, period? Like, and I know that's like a big overarching topic of why we wanted to do this show.
That is the question, though.
It is. Always. It is constantly, I'm always reevaluating, like, why I do the things that I do, that I fill my time with, whether it's work or for fun. And not only do I analyze those things, but I also, like, it's the overarching question that we don't ever have an answer for, and we will never have an answer for, which is at the end of the day, what is it all for? nothing, but also ego sometimes, most of the time.
It's mostly
the things we do.
It's mostly ego.
Yeah, the things we do and the things we attach ourselves to are pretty much like, whether it's music or whether it's painting or whether it's writing, the things that we do as an outlet in any way, shape, or form is purely ego, right?
Yeah.
Because without
ego... But that's not like a bad word, ego.
No, it's not.
It's what...
Oh, yeah, let's preface
ego
that.
Ego is our personality.
Right. A lot of... Yeah, see, that's the thing is... I think a lot of people are conditioned now that when you hear the word ego, you assume...
No, ego is just literally who you are.
Right. It doesn't mean that you have a high ego of yourself or a high impression of...
Right.
But yes, ego is just the awareness of self and what that self is creating and is about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do, it's weird. The term ego sometimes gets taken in a
well, it's used as like an insult in like movies.
Right, it is.
Stuff,
yeah.
So.
Oh, they have such an ego.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And that's become...
I fucking do have an ego.
Well, yeah, we all have an ego. Yes, that is who we are.
Yeah.
It's... Oh, yeah, there we go.
Is Gibbard pulling the microphone down?
Gibbard was... Yeah, he wanted to tangle himself into a microphone cable. That was his ego in the moment, was showing me that he was going to dominate that cable, even though I didn't want him to touch it.
Gibbard does have a pretty big ego.
Yeah, I can tell. Walking around out here like he owns the place.
We do have a big ego.
That's something we're doing differently. We used to do a lot of our talking in a studio environment that was very much the same every week, because it was a different show that we were doing with a different purpose. The purpose, I would say now, is more so a loose philosophy-based approach in the way that we want to do the recordings. We are right now, for example, literally just sitting on Derek's back porch.
Yeah, and the AC unit just kicked off.
Yeah, you may or may not be able to hear that when we're done. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe
I'll edit it.
Maybe it's not as... Yeah, we can edit it in if you can't.
I will do some field recordings.
If the microphones aren't picking up the fireworks and the... we'll get field recordings of all of that and overdub them.
Mm-hmm.
But like the point of this show is now more broad in the terms of like, when we hit record tonight, we had not started, and we still haven't started because we don't know what this show is, because we're going to allow it to like...
So this conversation that we just had is figuring out what the show is.
Everything that has happened up to this point...
So this is the show.
You're basically listening to us figure out what the hell we want to do.
So this is a good
while we do it.
Intro show.
Here it is. Here's the intro.
That doesn't have a name yet.
Right. But a name is only ego attachment.
I know.
Right? I just had to throw that in because we were just talking about ego. But it is, by giving it a name, which we have to do, by the way, because
if we don't give it a name, you have to kill it.
But if we don't give it a name, people can't search for it and find to also listen along and see if they're also weirdos like we are, and that they've had the same weirdo thoughts.
I don't think you can use weirdos.
What?
That's Pete Holmes. You made it weird. We can't have weirdos.
Oh, right. We need to have our own thing. And we will. We'll come...
Once we get a name for the show.
We'll figure out what our own little club of sad, depressed bastards can be called.
Yeah, I think you just nailed it.
Sad, depressed bastards. Yeah. I mean, really, the show is just... It's something that we had to stop doing at the time because we were not in it. And I feel like when you don't fully feel something that you're doing, you should always stop doing that thing. Like, I'm a firm believer
is our conversation. I like for us to talk back and forth,
because that never stops though.
And the thing I didn't like about it was having to keep coming up with a specific thing to talk about.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Just like the world that we're living in right now, currently, we kind of live in a time that nothing is going to stay the same for long. By tomorrow, because right now it is a Sunday evening, but you better believe that tomorrow on Monday, a brand new news cycle is going to start happening.
Yeah.
The entire world will be changed by midweek when we get together to, say, record another one of these or work on music or whatever we decide to do. Things are going to be even more different then. And it's so weird to think that, because the world that we are used to, that we've lived in our whole lives, news has always been a thing. that is on in the background, and man, for a couple weeks things get rough.
Yeah.
Things get weird. Things get like tense within the country. But at the current place that we're at right now, holy shit, I'm like, I try not to watch news because I would rather not allow myself all day, every day to be consumed by how bad things really are. But then when you have a phone that gets news alerts, and then you go from getting, I mean, God, dude, I feel like a couple years ago, you only got like news alerts when big things happened.
Yeah.
Now it's like my phone gets news alerts multiple times a day that are like headlines, that are like things, that are like real pieces of substance within the news. It's like, holy shit, that's a big deal. But like, we've not really lived in a culture or a lifestyle or a country that has been that way.
It feels like a different world.
It feels like a completely different world.
Like we're on a weird timeline.
Something has shifted, and
because I'm not the same person I was like 2 or 3 months ago. I feel like internally,
you've grown.
Something.
I mean, it's always inevitable. We are different people now than we were this morning.
Yeah.
I didn't used to think that way either.
Right.
But like when you start to really break down the differences of like how you personally view the world, for example, now versus even 5 years ago, because that to me doesn't seem like a long time ago, because 5 years ago we were doing podcasts. We were talking about a lot of the same stuff like day to day. But so much has really massively changed.
Yeah.
There is a culture shift that this is a thing that I've thought about for a while. I see a culture shift happening that scares me more than I've ever been scared in my adult life.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like we are approaching one of those turning points in world history where things will never be the same again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're approaching one of those milestones that will go down, or we are in one of those milestones that will go down to our, grandchildren as like a really fucked up weird time.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be remembered that way.
I don't know
I don't
know what's going to happen.
I mean, who's to say what's going to happen?
It's like a storm of stuff. Like everything all over the place. Like there's fires everywhere.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. It's like we used to have a world where the fires were a little more contained and fewer and far between, Like we had things figured out, or we felt like we had things figured out.
Yeah.
Right? We felt like we had things figured out, and I think life got too comfortable for everyone for maybe too many. Maybe that's what it is the way that the world evolves to begin with. Because let me tell you, the world as itself doesn't give a shit about us. As far as the Mother Nature side of the world that's always brewing and moving forward. So like the planet, the stars, the everything gives zero shits about us. We are organisms living on this planet trying to figure things out, and for like many, many, many decades, I think a lot of people felt like they had figured out how to live and navigate this world, whether it's the quote-unquote American dream that you're chasing, which, let me tell you, doesn't fucking exist anymore. I don't think the American dream is a thing any longer. I think that
it can't be.
It has been trampled, and it's now all for one. Not all for one.
All for one.
Every man for himself.
It's
basically.
all for one.
It's all for one, like the band.
The hit single, I'll Be There For You.
I'll be there for you.
Is that who did that? No, I Swear. I Swear
Who was
what
that?
They did.
Who was that one? Was that Boyz II Men?
I'll
Make Love to You.
You were singing I'll Be There For You in the tune of I'll Make Love to You.
Was it the same? Was it really? Was it the same song?
No, you sang it.
The right lyrics to a different song?
I don't know. I don't even know who you are.
I think
anymore.
I was singing Boyz II Men just then.
You were singing I'll Make Love to You.
But then all for one.
But instead of saying I'll Make Love to
I'll
You.
Make Love to You.
You were saying I'll Be There For You.
Oh shit, you're right.
Yeah.
Man, that is some Mandela shit right there. Because in my head, it worked. And it did work. I made it happen.
But that was Boyz II Men. All for One, Did I Swear.
I swear.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
That one.
That's the one. By the Moon, the Stars, and the Sky. And then the country guy did it.
John Michael Montgomery.
Right. That I remember that happening because I remember thinking.
Why do I have that?
I don't know why
brain?
you remember his name. That's real weird. Probably because we live in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And that's where that music comes from. It comes from here. That music comes from here. Country music is a very Tennessee thing. It's Nashville, man.
I know.
It's just up the road, bro.
You know, I can probably still listen to some 90s country maybe.
Like Garth Brooks.
I can hear a Garth Brooks song.
No. See,
I can hear one.
Oh, I can hear one in my head.
I would rather
and
hear
the thunder
one.
rolls and the
I would
lightning
rather
strikes.
hear that than some other things.
I would rather hear that than nails on a chalkboard, possibly, because that is one of those sounds that I really...
What a compliment that was for me to give to Garth Brooks just then. I would like to hear them better than some things.
I mean...
The guy's like a
First of all, Garth Brooks
legendary
will never hear this.
status. Like,
right, well, yeah, he is that.
Country music, I guess, icon.
Oh,
and I'm
without
saying
a doubt,
that,
he's an icon, yeah.
Yeah, he's all right. There's some... I could listen to him more than some things.
I could listen to him more than some things.
Yeah.
I could listen to a lot of things more than some things. I could also listen to a lot of things less than other things. But this is like completely off topic from where we were just like on this. This is kind of why I think we had to start doing this again, because we've just not.
We still talk.
We always talk.
But when we do this, we talk like way more.
Well, I don't even know that we talk way more. I think
we just talk more condensed.
Yeah, we try to, but now I feel like I don't know where I was going with that thought.
Oh, dude, this whole thing's been a roller coaster of things.
This is just a roller coaster. Yeah, I mean, brace yourselves. Hopefully anyone that listens to this either comes into this knowing who we are at least a little bit, and then maybe like you feel like a fly on the wall, like old days. We're just talking about a little bit more broad topic stuff. But I don't
even know. Did we mention sharing deals with friends on here?
No, we did not.
While we've been talking?
We haven't. So
that's what we
meant to do.
Yeah.
That's what we meant to do. Looking at the recorder right now, 32 minutes ago, we meant to...
Are you serious? 32 minutes?
Yeah, but don't be worried by the time, because if we go for 3 hours, that's just multiple episodes, potentially, unless we cut all the bad stuff, and then we're down to a 5-minute sizzle reel.
Good 5 minutes
for people to know what's coming later once we have
that old 5-minute sizzle.
Enough of these that we can make we can make magic happen, because that's what we're doing. But yeah, we did sharing news with friends, since you mentioned that. We'll circle to it for many years, and we had some incredible friends we made from that, and I know that there were a number of people that enjoyed what we were doing, and the constant comment that I always remembered hearing and feeling really good about was that, you know, people could listen to an episode and feel like they had known us and were kind of just like wanting to chime in on the conversations, and that's kind of what we want to do still. We want to include anyone who has ever listened to a previous podcast as well as anyone coming in now, because there's a lot of stuff beyond just music that we were interested in, and we kind of felt like maybe we boxed ourselves a little bit and we weren't able to talk about all of the things that we wanted to do in an easy fashion.
Yeah, and so many things are happening, like not only with the world and stuff, but like internally.
Yeah.
Right now, and I feel like when we do this and we get into good conversations and stuff, it's a lot. It's very cathartic, and I feel like just from like talking about the wild stuff or crazy, bizarre stuff that goes on in our brains, like it helps to like
it's double
find the way through there. It's like sort of
feels
like
good for us to get it off.
We're giving each other therapy by being friends or something.
Yeah, we've always given each other therapy. We've walked each other off of some ledges in our lifetimes, which, I mean, maybe throughout the course of this journey we'll get deeper into some of that stuff, because I know there's a lot of stuff in sharing news with friends we never really like got too deep. We had a lot of stories that were fun. You know, like tour days. Those are all those stories are always fun.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of something that we've always done, like outside of the music, is like really have lots of really deep conversations about life. And we know that if we're having these conversations, that
other people have to be.
Absolutely. And most likely every single person that we know and don't know are having these conversations. It sounded like a knock, but that was, I think, Gibbard.
Yeah, he's just scratching.
He was just letting us know he's still over there.
Yeah. We'll have to find some way for people to, like, chime in, too, because that's my other favorite part. Because especially with this stuff, like, there needs to be a place to talk. Because, like, I honestly hope that I don't ever say anything that offends anyone, but
I will say something that offends someone, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time.
That's not what I want to do.
No,
but
never.
The main thing that I want to do is be open to hear anything.
Yes.
Like, I feel like I've emptied my cup a little bit, and I'm wanting to, like, refill it and reevaluate, like, life in this world. Like, what should I be doing, and all these kind of questions that I guess you just get when you get to be like our age. Maybe that's a thing.
But I think that's the whole point, not only of this show, but that's kind of the whole point to even do this to begin with. Is like there's a lot of people, I think, that have reached a point just like we have, where the world itself has become so weird that even if it hasn't worn you down, because we know there's like a lot of people who are so much more up for the fight, younger generation that are like, doing different things in forms of activism and stuff like that, and it's amazing.
It's absolutely amazing.
And to see it happen is a beautiful thing, and it's just finding like where we feel the most comfortable and we're the most happy making change. It's for us always been like through our music. It's kind of like been how we've expressed ourselves, at least. But I feel like maybe this is like almost a podcast that becomes a virtual therapy session for a lot of people.
Yeah.
That can hear this, and again, we're saying things that we feel and have experienced that we feel are kind of weird. Like, oh man, that's good that at least you've experienced it.
Yeah.
We both experienced how weird this shit is, so awesome. But other people might hear it and say, oh my God,
yeah,
I've had that too, but I've never really talked about it.
Right.
Sweet. I'm not the only person. Whether that's from like anxiety, because both of us have been plagued with that and riddled with it our whole lives.
Absolutely. And
depression.
It's hard to talk about these things because you already sort of feel crazy at times.
Exactly. Oh my God.
So like the last thing you want to do is like mention something to someone and them think you're losing it or something, even though they won't.
Right. Well, I mean, but isn't that the problem though, is like I feel like I have thoughts of myself losing it on a regular basis to myself.
Yeah.
To where I have to take a step back and say, okay, reevaluate. Is everything as crazy as I think it is, or is it me? Is it my perception on things? Here's one that's going to get you. I've had this thought. I was watching a speech that guy gave the other day, and I started thinking, this sounds so foreign to me.
Yeah.
In my own country, am I the one missing something? Am I the one missing out on like?
I've had that same exact thought. Like,
really? Multiple times. I've thought, am I missing something?
Because I look at other people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how are they so fucking sure about this person? They can't be sure about it. So then I stop and think like, they feel as strongly about that as I feel about my thoughts.
Yeah.
And they couldn't be more different.
Right.
How is that possible?
How is it possible for people living on the same planet, going through the exact same, we're going to call it a simulation, because that's a way that I've heard a lot of people refer to. I mean, for fuck's sake, Kanye West is now a candidate for allegedly.
Yeah.
I mean, not allegedly. He did claim he was going to run, or he is running.
I think anybody can do that.
Right. I think anyone can do it, and anyone can be written in. Anyone can run as an independent. There are certain states that have cutoffs. So in some states, he's not going to be officially on the ballot, and it'll be totally write-in only. In other places, he can still get on. But that's the world that we're in now, to where a reality TV star can be president and a hip-hop star can throw his hat in the ring for president, because now we're at a place where celebrities become president, because popularity, this is the minefield that I've gone down. Popularity has become so important to people that celebrity needs to take on more power and can't just be celebrity anymore. Celebrity has to become and has to mean being in charge of, I mean, in this case, a country and a world that is like, I mean, you know, we both have friends that are outside of this country and we know what they think about our country, and it's sad. And so that gives me reassurance that I'm not the crazy person to think, am I missing something? Is there something I'm not seeing? I think that it comes down to absolute worldview and what you find important as a human being. That's what I'm starting to see more and more, is that the people that are on, and I hate to fucking say it like this, and before I even said it, I caught myself doing it, saying on one side or the other, because I don't want there to be two sides. I don't want it to be,
that's the whole trick,
you either believe what they believe or you believe what we believe, but there's no middle ground there. But, and if this offends anybody, I'm sorry, but, you know, for example, racism is straight off the table for me. That's not a thing where we can have a gray area and someone can say, well, yeah, I mean, okay, so I'm a little bit racist, but that's just the way I was raised. Whoa. Okay, but you just admitted you are, and you feel that you are a little racist. There's no gray area for that with me. If you're racist, I want nothing to do with you as a person, right?
Absolutely.
And so we've gotten to a point now in our culture. We, you know, when we started our first podcast, I remember thinking, okay, we all think different politically, but we all still get along. It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, if that hasn't goddamn driven a stake through the heart of like friendships and families and the souls of every living person now, because now you have to be careful who you say things around, who you wear certain things around, how you present yourself in conversation, which, you know, it's always been proper etiquette to not talk about politics in a public forum, like, you know,
a podcast.
No, not that. Like family dinners, you know? But now it's one of those things that is absolutely unavoidable for some people.
I know.
And people also, and this sucks, I've had friends go into graphic detail about how they now dread family events and family gatherings because this is going to happen with this person, and they already know because they've been arguing on Facebook for, you know, a couple weeks. And so this is going to be the first time we see each other face to face. This is going to be a weird weekend. That sucks, man, that we are at a place in our lives and in the country where we are afraid to have certain conversations with friends and family because we're also afraid that they're going to be that friend or family member that says, you're no longer a thing to me.
I think that's what it's getting to, man.
It's there. I mean, I've heard too many people say, I am done with that family member.
Yeah.
Whoa, man. I mean, and I can't act like I haven't said that.
I know.
Because I've got one family member in particular that I'm thinking of that has made just some like ridiculous and awful comments on Facebook when, you know, generally, to be completely honest about that, I don't post. I try. I can't say I don't. I try not to post too many political things. But I also don't post on a regular basis. So when I do post, it's generally because I'm outraged about something or because I have something to get off my chest. But to be told by a family member who you grew up around that he is astonished and would have thought you had a better education in your life than to think the way that you do. First of all, fuck you.
Yeah.
This is a family member of mine who is fucking dead to me now. And I don't even have to name names. because it doesn't matter anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we're at.
Right.
Is like I can, and it hurts as like a human being to be able to say, oh, I grew up around this certain family member and I remember good times around this person.
Yeah.
And I remember we used to get along. And now I remember that less than 6 months ago, he told me that he thought I would have had a better upbringing and education than to believe the things that I believe. Fuck you.
Yeah.
That is I don't care if you're friends or family. I don't care what relationship it is. When someone starts to degrade or talk down on your intellect or intelligence because of how you feel about the system and how you feel about inequality and how you feel about some people not being treated fairly and others being treated completely disproportionately fairly, unfairly. When you call that out and someone says not only can they not see it, but they refuse to believe it exists and then tell you that you're dumb for thinking that there is a divide in this country, whoa. I'm sorry.
And that's the point. And that's the how can this person be so sure about the basic common decency, moralistic thought.
Like, when you really think about it, losing a family member over an opinion.
I know.
Is that worth it?
That's your ego.
I know. Oh, fuck. But I'm thinking it to myself right now. Like, for me, is it worth it the rest of my life to hold a grudge against a family member who said something to me that I thought was pretty out of line and it didn't land well with me. I'll say it that way. It didn't land well with me. I read it to be highly condescending.
Well, I think it was meant to be condescending.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like
you know
it was
exactly
meant
what
to
I'm talking about.
I do.
We had this discussion when it happened, and I was livid because it's hard to believe that someone that it's one thing for it to be a acquaintance or a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend that you know on Facebook, because we all have that person who we are somehow friends with.
Yeah.
That we, in some of these day-to-day conversations, one day realize, how am I friends with this person?
Right.
Who is this?
Where did this person come into my life? I've never seen this person in real life.
Did they change their name? What? That's happened to me. I've had people comment on stuff, and I'm like, what? I don't know who this is. So unless you changed your name, but I also don't know who you are. So irrelevant. It doesn't matter how you feel. But when it's family, it does hurt. But when it's hey, everyone is completely aware of how political posts go on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Doesn't matter where you're at.
Yeah.
Everyone that is listening to this knows, because everyone that is listening to this, no matter what side you are on, you've got a family member who you have at least exchanged words with in a disagreement.
Right.
Period. Guarantee it. There is not one person that is listening to this that hasn't had at least a disagreement in the past year or so.
Oh, I've had numerous.
Week?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, me too.
It's crazy because everything you do now is political.
Right.
Like I can't go out and wear a mask without getting looked at weird here.
That is true. And in these times that we are living in right now, wearing a mask is only a sign of respect.
Right.
Even if you
that's
don't
turned
believe,
political.
Even if you don't, right, exactly. Let's take politics out of it. Even if you don't believe that it does anything, how about just be a cool person and know that other people see it as a sign of respect and just do it?
Yeah.
Because what does it hurt you? Nothing.
And then
it doesn't.
If you say, I think racism really sucks, that's political now too. So now that everything you do now has some kind of it feels like they are completely dividing it left and right.
It's interesting that you said that because right before you kind of shifted there, I was about to say I was flipping through Twitter earlier today, and Elon Musk tweeted something that I found, the way that he worded it, it took me a minute to figure out what he was saying. Then it clicked instantly. It said, cancel culture. So it's something I've heard about a whole lot lately.
Yeah, what is that?
Cancel culture. Basically,
cancel culture.
You fuck up, you're canceled. You're done. Mm-hmm. So Elon Musk just earlier said cancel culture, and it hit me. It was one of those tweets that I read, and it had me for a minute thinking, whoa, what does that mean? Oh, cancel, end, cancel culture. And he followed it up with something that was basically saying, live, and I'm going to have to look it up because I don't want to ruin it. But the way that he followed it up almost kind of gave me the feeling of like, and let me put this out, I respect Elon Musk a lot. I think he's a super intelligent guy. And I've never, I follow him on Twitter, and not ironically, because what's the next thing he's going to say? Because I don't even follow the president on Twitter because...
Why should you?
I see his tweets, plenty. You don't have to search hard or far to find them. Yeah. But it's one of those things, like, I've always liked Elon Musk, and then when I read this today, I maybe it hit me in a different way or wrong, but maybe you'll take something different out of it. Let me find it. He didn't delete it, did he? There's no way.
Probably.
No way. Why would he have done that?
I don't know.
What's the point in tweeting something? I'm gonna look it up on the Google because it'll tell me. But like, that's a tweet that someone's got saved somewhere.
So
there it is, right there. I didn't even get the whole thing typed in, and it said, cancel culture. There it is. More fun, less shun. Didn't know that was how he followed up cancel culture. More fun, less shun. And I thought to myself, is he implying like we should be allowed to act in any way we want without others holding us accountable? Or is he more so just saying like, hey, everyone lighten up a little bit, like, let's not jump on everyone for everything they do all of the time because it's getting overbearing, because it is. There's a lot going on, and we see it a lot. So I didn't know how to take it from him because, again, while I love this guy and respect him tremendously, he also did yesterday say that he endorsed Kanye.
Oh, he legitimized himself immediately.
Right. So that also made me say, ow, what?
Yeah.
Elon Musk, you're brilliant, dude. What?
Yeah.
But you're smart enough to understand that that's a terrible idea, right? Like, because he is.
I never met him.
Well, I've not either, but that 3-hour-long Joe Rogan podcast times 2, you learn a lot about a guy in 6 hours of hearing him just talk and smoke his first joint.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on the first episode that he was on Joe Rogan, he caught fire for that too. I remember seeing it all over the news, and they were like, Tesla CEO Elon Musk smoking marijuana on the Joe Rogan show. And it showed him, and he did look like the most awkward.
Really?
Didn't really look like he inhaled. Not that I'm not judging him. I'm just saying it was a very awkward video clip of him just kind of doing it. And it was on Joe Rogan, and for some reason that became a thing. And that made me again wonder, it's like, it's 2020. Is it a big deal if a guy who's obviously already proven to you he's a fucking genius smokes a joint? Is like, really? Brings me to my point of the cancel culture, which we haven't even gotten to, but like, is there a too much? Is there a fine line? Because I didn't think it was right that people were giving him shit for smoking weed. Let the guy do what he wants. He's in California. It's legal.
Right.
He's also definitely over the age of 18 and an adult and can make his own choices. Why was it such a big deal and people saying, oh my God, Elon Musk smoked weed?
Was that really a big deal? Like,
it was on CNN and on Fox News.
Okay, so if he's talking about that,
I saw it on both news channels that they actually, like, it wasn't a big deal, but they made a comment to it on both outlets, and I saw from both, and I thought,
I don't think he's being canceled by that. So
no, I don't either.
What I would assume is...
I just thought it was weird that they cared
That's
at all.
very weird that he did that. It makes him sound like he wants people to just get away with whatever they want to. That's what that sounds like to me.
That's the way I took it. It's just seeing cancel culture, and then more fun, less shun.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know how to take it.
I've got my thoughts on cancel culture, though.
I'd love to hear your thoughts. That was the reason I brought up that tweet, and why before you said what you said, I was going to bring that up, and then we just, that perfectly as normal, went into it.
I mean, it's one of those weird areas.
Isn't it?
Like,
I know. This is going to be one of those divisive topics where some viewers, listeners...
I mean,
some people are going to think
but it shouldn't be because I'm just trying to figure it out. This is me figuring it out in my head because I don't know.
Right.
So it's definitely appropriate to,
without a doubt.
I mean, go back
Hold
to
people
like
accountable.
Go back to like when we were cavemen, you know?
Right.
Like you had to shun some people out of the group if they were
absolutely
jerking off on the lamb.
I mean, back in those days, you lived to the age of 27. You didn't have time to fuck around. You wanted to live your life, and if someone was ruining it, it's like, bro, I'm already 22. I don't have much time here. I don't have time for your shit, and you would shun them out.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you did.
Yeah.
Luckily, we live longer than 27.
Yeah,
now.
I know.
We don't also have rocks falling on us.
So if you got someone that's like a known sex predator or someone that's done something bad, like people need to know about that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, by all means, cancel that fucker out.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
But on the other side of that coin, sometimes it happens so fast that
like an incident happens so fast.
Or I mean, it's
because, for example, I want to bring up like a comedian that I love a lot, Chris D'Elia.
Yeah.
It came out a couple weeks ago. A lot of women started accusing him, on his Twitter, of making advances on them when they were minors.
Yeah.
And he obviously has denied any of that as being true and said, look, when I was young and started as a comedian, I did some stupid things for sure.
Yeah.
But like I never did anything that went over the line. So that right there brings like when you hear him say that, it's like, okay, so we do know that he was chatting with 14-year-old girls. But we also
the thing is he shouldn't have been chatting with 14-year-old girls.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Like, so legally he didn't do anything maybe.
Yeah. Like
fully illegal, but at the same time, he was putting himself in a position that like no 38-year-old dude should be putting himself in, talking to a 14-year-old girl. Like, even if you are famous, it's just, I mean, it's strange to me, and that's one of the things I was thinking with like Chris D'Elia. He's a good-looking dude. Like, he can find women his age, like, for sure. Like, I'm serious. Like,
yeah.
Maybe I have a different view on him because I find him funny and you don't.
But he does. Yeah, I don't know. I've never been a fan, but I don't know.
But isn't it that's what strikes me? I think is weird. Is like, does it become in his case? And I didn't really mean to even like bring a person into this. We could maybe cut that out if that's like inappropriate.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think it is.
I don't either. I mean, it happened, but it was just one of those things where I tried to look at it from multiple angles, and it was just because I'm a fan of him, and I was like, no, not Chris. So he didn't do anything like way illegal and like way awful, but yeah, he totally did do something that he should not have done. That's pretty terrible.
Right.
Wow. How do you rationalize that?
Yeah. And
you hear him, saying apologetically, like, anything I did, I didn't mean to. I was unaware. And while I'd love to believe him when he says he's unaware, we've seen that screenshot where the girl said, I'm 16. And it's like, oh, you weren't unaware.
Right.
When you hit her up a year later.
Yeah.
That she didn't magically in 1 year turn 18. You know what I mean? Like, so you start thinking about it, and then you realize, like, these are people you look up to as, like, comedians and actors and enjoy their work, and then, whoa.
You just can't put people on a pedestal.
Oh, and no, you can't at all. And
but like, you subconsciously do. Like, it's not like, well, you shouldn't put them on a pedestal. No, I'm saying, like, your brain does. Like,
absolutely.
they're famous.
Yep.
So I don't know, you expect them to be a certain way. And
I think that's what it was with Elon Musk and the smoking weed, honestly. Is I think that a lot of people look at him as a businessman, super intelligent guy. Why would he be doing it? Maybe that was more their outrage of like, why would he dare?
It seems like a weird thing to be upset about.
It really does, man. It's like something
people get upset about lots of things.
They really do. Like something that's been proven to be medicinal in so many ways, and you're freaking out because he did it somewhere where it was legal. That's like saying, I just can't believe he had a beer.
Yeah.
Can you believe?
Can you believe he drank a beer?
I mean, like, well, he's an adult, right? It was legal. Yeah, I mean,
right
sure.
in front of his mama, too.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd believe it. I guess I'd have to go ahead and say I believe that. I could see him doing it. Yeah. I think I've probably drank a beer in front of my mama.
Mm-hmm.
I have.
Yeah.
And
I'll just do my best Southern judgmental woman.
Right.
Yeah.
That's spot on.
Thanks, man.
Spot on.
But
that's true. Yeah, like
what were we even talking about before
cancel culture.
Oh, yeah. So I'm for cancel culture, but you can ruin someone's life for good.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
So be fucking careful.
That's
and I think the thing is, I just don't trust everyone to be careful.
Right? That's kind of, I think, the tightrope that is that right now is like, by all means, I want to be compassionate to any person who has been like put through anything.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, I want to be compassionate.
Right.
But at the same time, like, I guess you have to be able to see it from all angles.
Yeah.
It's kind of the reason that like laws exist and judges exist and courts exist, because there are two sides to every story.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that like sometimes you can't say that because there's not always two sides to a story.
Right.
There's a right side to the story, and then there's the fucking liars side of the story. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's like because of the way that sadly, God, it's so sad that it works this way, but because I heard this last week, because of the way that our country is run, and the people conduct themselves in the highest of office, other people decide and use that to their advantage of saying, well, he's not doing it, so I won't do it.
Exactly.
Or he did this, and he's the president.
Yeah.
So if he can do all this awful stuff and be there, then, dude, why can't I?
Yeah.
And there's no reason to not think that way, because it's scary, because he's there. So you have to think that way.
Yeah.
You can do anything you want.
Their leader.
Yep.
Is our president.
Right. Yes. And it's just terrifying to really like sit back and think like, wow, this isn't a television show we're watching that just like got real weird. This isn't an episode of Black Mirror. We're like,
it's the singularity.
It is the singularity. We are living in that world now where this simulation has started to break down.
Yeah.
And I think that people talk about being woke all the time. And, you know, it's kind of, that's a part of culture, is the people that are seeing through everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like slowly while there are more people that are seeing a lot of this stuff that's going on, that's just like, whoa, this is blatantly wrong, and we have to do something about it. We have to stand up for other people than ourselves. We have to help out any way we can. There's other people that somehow are getting the entirely different message, and that's what blows my mind.
It's because they watched one channel up.
Yeah. Right?
It's because when they were growing up, their parents had it on one channel, and their parents had it on another channel. And then when you get the 24-hour news cycle coming in, it just blew that shit up, dude. Because people can go on there all the time. And you know what? The news always is going to have new news.
Here's the thing, and we're going to have like a good conversation about this at one point. So our buddy Colin was over the other night.
Yeah.
And he brought up a really good point. I want him to expound on this because like he had some really deep thoughts about this. But
yeah,
the news cycle is what reminded me of this. Is not only do we have a constant news cycle where, you know, again, when we were growing up, TVs turned off at 11, like, or midnight. They went to static. Like that's what happened. They just like that makes us sound way older than we are. But like in the 80s, that's a thing that happened in the 80s. I know that's crazy to some people because I remember telling Eva the other day, who 12 years old, doesn't understand anything, like that Wi-Fi didn't exist. So like when we would go on vacation,
there was no YouTube.
Right. When we went on vacation with family, like we were on vacation with family, and that was it. It came up because a friend of hers was going to a cabin with her family, and there wasn't going to be Wi-Fi, and they were both like, "Oh my God, what are we going to do?" And that realization hit me of like, whoa. So we grew up in an era where like when we were really young, like her age, when we were 12, the TVs at midnight or 1 o'clock, sometime in the middle of the night, they went off for a few hours. That doesn't happen now because she doesn't know a world that doesn't have Netflix. She doesn't know a world where she doesn't have an iPhone or an iPad where everything is in front of her. And that was what Colin was saying the other night, was like, so we have the news cycle, that's the TV and the radio and the internet. But what takes it one step deeper is then you've also got social media, which is its own beast of news for a lot of people. There are a lot of people who are older than us that use Facebook as one of their main points of reference for news.
Yeah.
And this was kind of gone over in that last election. It's a big deal. It's a scary thing that anyone can pay to put ads out to say anything they want, and Facebook allows it as long as it's not within proper hate speech.
Yeah.
So you can put non-fact as a quote-unquote fact in your post or whatever you're pushing with your agenda and affiliation or whatever. And like Colin was saying, people gravitate to that, and once enough of their friends have gravitated to that and they all buy into this, like, because they're all in this social media machine where that's where they live for a big portion of their day.
Yeah.
Like all day long checking social media.
It's all day.
And then you get into a conversation with someone on one of these posts that may be a different topic from what you were, you might have chimed in on something just because you were interested in this debate, and then it becomes something that is a monster of its own, where people are throwing facts at you that are just so non-factual, but they're speaking them as though again, this is their news. So like some people are reading these comments and saying, oh, that's a good point. They think a lot like me. Yeah. And what they said makes sense to me. That is truth.
Yeah. Oh, I think that they sound like they know what they're talking about. And they automatically are going to believe every other thing they say.
Yep. Because you can see that sometimes. You'll scroll through someone's post and you're like, man, there's a few people who have liked every single post this person has made. Yeah. And that scares me because I read it and I see straight hate speech.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's like, I guess the biggest thing for me with that just is figuring out how, again, like we were talking earlier, how can the people we went to high school with, we grew up with, that somehow we don't even know anymore at all. And that's a weird thing to think about, especially when you know that there are people who you grew up with, and even as of like 10 years ago, you were close with them, and you realize, no, but not anymore. But how and why?
Yeah.
Because it's like a slow erosion over time of
It's a virus.
It is. Yeah.
No pun intended. I didn't even. but the crazy thing is, and I heard this thing on this podcast today. It was Corey Allen podcast. The guy's name was Joe List that said it, though. He talked about it being like a sickness, like this addiction to news and all this stuff on there. It's like an addiction, but it's kind of like an eating disorder, sort of like you have this sickness of an eating disorder, but you have to eat something every day to keep living.
Right.
And so it's hard to you can't just quit eating. But with the news, like you still need to know what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's no like middle ground where you can. I mean, you're just hearing crazy shit all day long. Against your will.
And that's kind of the point of what I was saying earlier. Is like with where we're at is like everything just feels weird now.
It does.
Like
it does.
You
it's
know,
just weird.
It's like I remember at a point when we were doing Sharing Those with Friends, we made a joke about like, hey, how many years do you think we are away from Mike Judge's incredible and very premonition-filled film, Idiocracy?
Yeah.
We're like, how many years are we away from that? But like we were talking about this just a couple weeks ago. Fuck, bro, we passed that.
Yeah.
Like Idiocracy is in our rearview mirror.
Yeah.
And now we're on to this next thing where it almost feels like, and you know, I love Seth MacFarlane and I love Family Guy. It feels like fucking Family Guy and the writing team are now writing
the world.
Satirical version of like how the fucking world works, because everything does. There are times, but see, while I say this, I can also understand that there are people who would say you're wrong and you are the reason why I believe what I believe, because you're so wrong and you're so different than my beliefs. You're the reason I believe what I believe. And that's what is so weird to me, is that there are people that can not understand what I'm saying right now, but be on such the vehemently like opposite side where it's like visceral. They want to fight me because we have different opinions.
Right.
I don't recall having that type of friction 5 years ago.
Maybe
6 years ago. And maybe it was there and I didn't notice it. I don't know.
Maybe just as you get older, you start feeling it a different way. Like, I guess when you're kids, I mean, I'll try not to let my kids have to worry about that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But it bleeds out more and more with the way that I've got to have all these serious talks with them, because they're going to see something on TV, and
exactly,
I've got to make sure that I talk to them before someone else in Tennessee talks to them.
Right, exactly, because that's the thing. If they grow up around too many other people that have opposing views, maybe that's how, you know, within your own family,
that's how you change. That's how you change the world.
Surround yourself with. And we know that. I mean, like, you know, that's what your parents always tell you when you're growing up, you know, like, it's the company you keep.
Yeah.
You know, and like you had friends growing up that your parents would say are bad influences, or you were that person who other people's parents said was a bad influence.
Yeah.
And that's a thing. And so it starts, I think, pretty early on, but like, you know, you said it's what TV channel is, you know, what news channel is on at home, you know, when you're growing up. And that's so true, because I think a lot of it not only comes down to like what news channel it was on when you were growing up, but like whether there was a TV there.
Yeah.
Or, you know, where you grew up and who you grew up around outside of that, you know, that home.
Yeah.
Because like it's such a hard concept to think about, because you think of like, okay, we were both raised in different families, but families that thought very similar, and we both turned out the way we turned out.
Right.
But we also have cousins and, you know, family members that believe so much differently. So trying to wrap your head around, how does a cousin of mine have such different beliefs when we were raised in the same family,
in the same family unit? Yeah,
right. Like brothers who are like splitting it. I've seen that. I've seen friends who are brothers that have opposing views.
It's because we found the best bad influences.
Yeah, but But what does that mean the bad influence is now? Like, now that we're trying to...
It's a pendulum, man. It's like it's swinging back the other way now. Like
we've tried...
It was swinging towards progression whenever we were growing up. Right. And now I feel like it's swinging towards regression. Absolutely. So it's going to be chasing that line back and forth probably until the end of days.
But and when you think about the pendulum swinging, if progression was what we were feeling we were in, say that was like counterclockwise all the way up. Where are we now? Are we clockwise all the way up, or are we still down at the bottom? Like, are we still half swinging towards whatever that next thing is? Because that's what scares me.
It's definitely the half swing, because I don't think it's it's something feels like it's going to erupt. I really hope it doesn't.
I know.
But something's got to give. Man, there's an election
somewhere. Yep.
And
4 months, dude.
The consequences of that election
have never... this is something I'm saying, and I realize, again, like I said earlier, before I even say it, have been said a million times. An election like never before.
Yeah.
And it has been said before, and people have thought that before. But you know what? Shit just keeps getting worse. So, like, for real...
But I don't say that about, like... I don't have strong beliefs.
If you do believe in the president, just like we said when we were in Sharing News with Friends, I don't want to purposefully offend anybody by saying my beliefs.
However, things that I do believe,
this is how I
to me.
Exactly. This is how I feel, though, and so like I am not intentionally trying to upset anybody. Or if you are a supporter of the president, I'm not trying to say you're an idiot. I'm just saying this is, in my worldview and what I'm around, this is what I see. And this is how I feel about it. And these are how my friends that I surround myself with feel about it. I'm certainly not alone in that feeling. And we've seen that so much in these just like incredible amounts of protests that have been just nonstop.
Yeah.
Because... people are just fucking tired.
Yeah, just down the road in Nashville, there are people getting dragged down the stairs today, right?
Yep.
Or yesterday.
Yeah, might have been yesterday.
Yeah.
It's like that's something that's also become never ending. Mm-hmm. Is those types of news stories where you're like, oh my God, that happened?
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, I remember when we were growing up, there are two events that jumped out at me that to this day I remember as a kid thinking were like, whoa, that's crazy. Waco?
Yeah.
Because that was on the news, and I remember seeing it, my dad watching it.
Oh, for sure. Vividly.
And the O.J. Simpson.
Yep, that's the other one.
But when I think of, like, kids now, holy shit, dude. In this year alone, how many turning point events have they seen that in the last year alone are going to be impacting their lives when they're in their 20s and 30s, where they're going to say, well, the reason I feel this way, or the reason I think this is because when I was this age, this happened.
Yeah.
And this really woke me up, or this really changed my opinion, or this scared me, or this, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, kids that are growing up in this right now, it's mind-blowing to wonder how they're perceiving it, because I know how I perceived things when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But I can't even fathom, because they know a different life than we did, because they've been raised in, a more inclusive world and an inclusive environment where like everything is accepted and everything's okay because it is.
Yeah.
Right? Like you were saying about progress. We've finally gotten to a place where our kids are growing up in an area where everything they've grown up around, nothing seems weird.
I know.
Anything you want to do is fine, because it's your choice to do, be, and live however you want to live.
Yeah.
And so that's what they've known up until recently, when they've seen more and more outrage and they don't understand.
I know.
Because they haven't experienced it, because they've not had to see anything that was illegal, that now they're like, what, that was illegal at one point in time? How is that illegal? when I was explaining that, when we were young, gay marriage was illegal.
Yeah.
And for my kid to be like, that's insane. What? No.
I know,
what?
Right?
And it's like, I know, kid, trust me. I know how weird that is, because when I think about it, I'm like, what? That is so stupid. What?
Yeah.
What has happened?
But back even when we were younger,
yeah,
and you could probably admit too, like it was a bad thing.
Right.
It was
absolutely
because
you remember people's outrage from it.
The place that we live, most of these people thought homosexuality was bad.
Right.
So that's all we knew.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember ever thinking like, oh, I don't like gay people.
Oh yeah, I know. I personally.
But in my head, I was like, oh,
my family was
that's
always
that's a wrong thing, right?
Right. That was, and that's the difference.
And I'm so glad,
because in my family, it wasn't a thing. Like, if someone chose to want to do something, the way I was raised, luckily, it was like, yeah, this is illegal, but it's really stupid. People should be able to do what they want to do. Right. And so, like, for our kids who live in that, it's hard to believe that exists. But there are other people who grew up on that other side of it. Just like, this is a way different example, but like when they wanted to regulate the music industry and put parental advisory stickers on anything that could be suggestive language to children.
That was Tipper Gore.
Yep. Because they were going to corrupt kids. So they had to have these big, bold parental advisories.
Yeah.
So that parents knew just by looking at the cover that this might influence your child.
Yeah.
What? Like, influence them to like Def Leppard?
Yeah, I know.
Well, I don't...
Because they're cursing.
Right.
Or they're talking about sex.
That stuff, man. I remember when that kind of like broke out.
God, how different is that than now?
Right? And that's another thing that like I think of now when I think of that as being a thing, because I had mentioned buying an edited CD.
Yeah.
An Eminem CD that was edited.
Oh, I got so mad I bought Master P Ghetto Dope or Ghetto D, and it was edited, and I was so mad.
Well, the kid laughed. She was like, edited? Why would they even sell that? What do you mean? Why? Because, she understands, like, obviously what
they still do it, though.
Curse words are, she knows what that is.
It's just digital now. Like, if you go to Spotify and look at it, I mean, a lot of the mainstream things still have the regular and edited versions
maybe they do.
Both
maybe
on
I
there.
just don't notice that. But, like, it struck me because, like, when I mentioned it, the kid even found it so strange. I was like, okay, a 12-year-old finds it weird that they were censoring music. That, like, the stuff that she's grown up listening to, like, I let her listen to Wu-Tang Clan.
Oh, yeah.
Like, ain't nothing to fuck with.
Yeah.
And I don't worry that she's going to listen to this and think like, okay, well, now I'm going to absorb all of the stories that I just heard and all of the bad, and let's go use this knowledge for evil.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Right.
It's not. Let me tell you, if growing up and playing violent video games and watching violent television shows and movies made you a bad person, then you'll have to explain me to me.
Yeah.
Because I have been a horror fanatic.
Oh, all my life.
Yeah. And I feel like I am sometimes more than overly compassionate to people and like life in general.
Yeah.
I believe that it's because of my dark tastes in music and film. I have a different view on life itself, because to me that's the art that I enjoy immersing myself in.
Exactly.
Because it is that, and it's dark and it's a whole different world. But now we're starting to bleed that like horror into like real life, because things are getting weird. We watch movies like The Purge and then we start thinking, whoa.
Yeah, I know.
Years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whenever the first one came out, we thought like, oh my God, this is so outrageous.
Yeah.
Now we have a president who says he can go out on Fifth Avenue and shoot someone and nothing would happen to him.
Exactly.
Whoa. Like that itself, I don't feel like gets enough play. Like, people bring that comment up every now and then.
Maybe
but
it's
he said that, and that's a big deal.
Maybe it's because that
because
now this is the normal, and we still remember a time where that would be.
And I wonder if the new normal
just like completely ridiculous for someone to say.
I know.
Like, it used to be ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. And I said the word new normal, and I've been thinking of that a lot lately when people keep saying it on the news, like the new normal.
Yeah.
I don't like thinking in terms of like, wait, everything's going to change and there's going to be a new, like, normal? No, like, maybe for a period of time.
Yeah.
I would like to believe that everything will eventually, like, settle the fuck down and go back to what it was. But
what was it, though, Gene?
That is the question, is what was it?
What it is now is not what it was.
And what is it going to become? Because, I mean, we have no impact on it. That was what I was talking about earlier. The world doesn't give a shit about us.
I know.
So, like, we don't have an impact on how things are going to evolve and how things are going to change and how they're going to get worse or better. We can hope and we can try and we can, like, do the things that we want to do as far as activism.
Yeah.
But what brings forth real change? Where does that come from? And
within.
Yeah. Everybody, though. Everyone has to be on the same page.
I know.
That's the scary part.
And it won't happen. Like, I mean, what kind of outlook is that? But
right.
It won't. And I mean,
that is a very nihilistic outlook of it. But
I'm very dead set in my beliefs.
I am too, and I can also say that I've learned about myself. Maybe it's all the Nietzsche that I've read, but I was, even explaining, because I had to explain that to a 12-year-old the other day, what nihilism was.
Yeah.
Because there are times where I literally do think nothing matters, nothing means anything. We're here, yes. We're gonna live this life. We're all born. We're gonna live.
Yeah.
We're gonna do jobs while we're here. We're gonna do podcasts while we're here. We're gonna make music. Some of us are gonna paint. Some of us are going to run marathons. Some of us are gonna be architects. Some of us are going to be fry cooks at McDonald's. Some of us are going to be engineers at NASA. Like, we're all gonna do a different thing. We're all gonna have a different experience while we're here in these fucking flesh vessels.
Yeah.
But like, where is the why?
Yeah, these meat caskets.
Like, what is our end goal? Because
there's no goal, I don't think.
And when you realize that, that's kind of the ego death of taking a step back and saying, I can admit none of this means anything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing this because I enjoy sitting out here on
me too.
Nice summer evening and having a conversation and a smoke, and that's like what we would do anyway. And so we're recording it because we want to. We make the music and put the music out that we want to make because we care about it and believe in it and want to do it.
Yeah.
Everyone does the things in their daily lives that they do because they want to do them.
Right.
But at the end of the day, in my nihilistic point of view, none of it matters at the end at all.
No, everyone dies.
None of it matters.
Everybody dies.
So
we're all going to change.
Back. Yeah. And so in that sort of mindset, nothing does matter. Like, all of this craziness that we think we're in right now, it's pretty insane. But guess what? Every one of us is still going to live through it.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether we want to or not, it's still going to happen around us.
Yeah.
And for as long as we are alive as people, we're going to go through the same thing. And there's not an answer to the why question of like, well, but what's the point? Because there's not. That's like, maybe I'm giving the secret answer to a lot of people that they've not unlocked or figured out yet. And Nietzsche gave this to me, but there's not a point to any of it.
Right.
There's not. There is no reason for me to put music out other than the fact that I just want to, because it's an urge that I have.
Right.
And I've got the creativity to make something, and then once I've made it, I don't want to keep it to myself. I want to share it, so I put it out.
Same.
And so for anybody else, they want to go out to a bar one night. Mm-hmm. That's their urge. That's what they want to do. They're going to do it.
And you know what?
Right?
That used to be an urge for me, and now it's not an urge for me.
Right.
Because people change.
People do change.
But also do different things.
It doesn't even matter.
No.
Whether you go to the bar or whether you stay at home and drink or whether you don't drink at all, none of that matters either.
Right.
Like,
what does matter
in a big picture, none of it
is
matters.
when something you want to do hurts other people.
Yep. That is a big...
So like I was saying earlier, I'm dead set in my beliefs on things of like racial inequality and any kind of
100%.
any kind of situation where someone is not being treated like a fucking human.
That's where it comes down to.
That is what I'm dead set in. But everything else, like, I wish that I wanted to care about the economy right now. Right. I wish that I wanted to care about like school funding because I should be.
These are all things that we should care about.
I should be cared about that, and I am. But like that takes a back burner.
It's not front of mind. It's not the first thing that you're like focused on because everything,
right,
is so weird. That
right.
It's almost a hard thing to figure out where do I put my focus,
and I think it's on purpose. That's probably for another episode.
That right there. That's distraction. Look here. Because by the time we have another conversation,
I just looked over there. I thought you were telling me to look over there. Just then.
Look over there. You see that?
I was like, I'm trying to do this.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to be here, man. I'm trying to be present and in the moment.
You're gonna be here now.
Be here now, because that's what we all are, and that's that. Honestly, that's probably a great place to end this.
Yeah.
Because I could continue this all evening long, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because nothing matters.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep saying that because nothing matters. And so whether this episode ends right here or whether it goes another 30 minutes, it won't matter.
Because that's how life goes.
Because that's how life goes. And maybe someone will choose to listen to the next episode of what this is. And
because
maybe
it'll be something the same or something different.
It's going to be the same thing in that we will be talking about topics. We will be talking about things. We will be talking about whatever it is. We could be talking about the exact same. It could be a continuation of exactly this.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole point, is this just feels very therapeutic to talk about it. And I think that for a lot of people that listen to it, because I know that there's a lot of podcasts I listen to where I hear people say something that I've thought, and I'm like, oh, that's all I needed to hear, was just someone else that I know is like-minded that says that they're in the same fight, and we're going to do this, whether it kills us or not, because like that guy said on that one thing, nothing matters, and nothing ever will. That's a beautiful way to end the very first episode of this thing.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's kind of like that's where I'm at. I think that it's just about the journey.
That sounded really cheesy, but I agree.
If we were at the destination, we would have no point in doing this.
Did you read that on a poster?
Oh yeah, it's not the journey, it's the destination. Or it's not the destination, it's the journey. Yeah, it's not about where you're going, it's about how you get there. And it's the same as you were talking about one time on the Pete Holmes podcast. Someone said that if you're not happy on the plane to Hawaii, you're not going to be happy when you get there.
Exactly.
And that's so true. If you're not happy trying to find whatever it is you're searching for, which with us, it's for words, for the next sentence, for the next thing I'm going to say or think, because every day that's a struggle for me. As someone that has OCD and ADHD, that's a thing that I can't help, but all day long my brain is going.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to spit these words out.
And I thought you were going to spit some.
I was about to, and then I decided, nope, you know what? I can't. I don't have enough flow to keep it, going. But I don't know. If anyone listens and has thoughts or even just relates.
Yeah.
Let us know, because that's kind of if you've gotten this far in the episode and you still for whatever reason enjoy it, then I would love to know that, and also maybe what directions we should take this, because again, we're always going to have these conversations, and if we have more input on what areas we should focus more on, we would it wouldn't hurt. It would only make this better for anyone that wants to suffer through it. And as the Buddha said, life is suffering. And let me tell you, every minute of this will probably be suffering that you'll later have these little nuggets in your head, though, from that you'll say, oh, but I did hear that. And, yep, I've got one little piece of knowledge that I took from all of that. And it means nothing.
If I can impart any kind of knowledge ever.
Please do.
That's my goal.
Yeah. Yeah. Always giving any sort of knowledge, but most likely not.
Yeah, because I don't have the knowledge. So if you get some, I would be wary from me.
pass it along.
I've been giving out bad knowledge lately.
Ooh, man.
Don't
be a bad influence, man. Don't be a bad influence. Don't be that guy.
I think the bad influences sometimes are the good influences.
Ouch. All right. Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
We are going to chat soon.
Yeah, probably like tonight.
Very soon.
See ya.
Bye.